Michael Mann's Ferrari, starring Adam Driver as Enzo Ferrari, Penelope Cruz as his long-suffering wife, and Shailene Woodley as his mistress, mother of his child, is not just a biopic of Enzo Ferrari. Because it's not a biopic of Enzo Ferrari. It's a biopic of a tiny slice of Enzo Ferrari's life. So if you go into Ferrari thinking, I'm going to learn about this man from childhood to death, you'd be wrong. This is just really about this period of time in Ferrari's life where he is striving to create a car and a team of drivers that can win this really famous race across Italy. It's like a cross-country race called the Mille Miglia, 1,000-mile race, day and night, nonstop, to point A to point B, and his company and his company's future and his future hangs in the balance of whether they can win this race and bring fame and productivity, fame, and profit to at the time an ailing automotive company. So I didn't know much about the life of Enzo Ferrari. This is based on a book by Brock Yates, who created the Cannonball Run, the race, and wrote the movie, and wrote Smokey and the Bandit 2. And so it's aspects of that book are turned into this film. It is mostly a drama. It does have racing in it, and it does involve racing and auto design and technique and all that. But most of the film really is a drama about Adam Driver as Enzo Ferrari, this man who has this wife who helps him run the company, who he is constantly departing their home for this other home he has with this other woman who has a child by him. And it's the struggle of, is he going to leave his wife? Is he going to allow his illegitimate son to have the Ferrari name? And there's a lot of internal struggle while he's still trying to work day and night to create a car that will win this race, that has a more efficient and powerful engine and more aerodynamic and all that. And it's really fascinating for all of those things. I thought this was a good film. It's not strictly a car movie. So if you're a car person, you're like, oh man, I'm going to see all kinds of racing. You will see some racing, but not as much as you might think. If you think you're going to see the life of Ferrari, much like there was a movie called Hitchcock a few years ago that was really just about the making of Psycho, this is really just about the making of a car and a race. It's really well done. From all accounts, Mann was a stickler for accuracy on this film, so it's very period accurate. If you like Italy, this takes place in 1957, so if you like the Italy of the 50s, early 60s, that is on display. Recreation thereof is on display. If you like old-style motor racing, that is there. If you like a horrifying car wreck, so I'm not going to give anything away. You know how I do it here. I don't really talk about the plots too much, but there is a car wreck in this film that is so graphic and gory. I was in a theater filled with what I call normal people, not horror fans like me, just normal people. And there was a level of gruesomeness and gore on display that you could hear pin drop. And when the pin wasn't dropping, you heard people gasp and explain. One woman exclaimed a profanity, whispered, because she was just shocked and taken aback at what had just happened and what she just witnessed. So very powerful. By all accounts, again, the film is very accurate, and it was good. It was interesting. I don't know if there are awards in order for this film, but certainly interestingly done. One thing I will say is a personal beef that I'll probably bring up every time I see this in any film. 4:3 is okay. And please don't source clips from YouTube. I saw this film at a Dolby screening, so it's a gigantic screen, really good image, really good audio, really powerful sound, and like you felt the engines rumble when you were watching the film. But during the opening, there's this montage in black and white showing Enzo Ferrari in his racing days, and it was a mix of really, really old archival footage of early auto racing, and Adam Driver made up to look younger than he does for the majority of the film, and behind the wheel of an old car with the goggles and the hat and the scarf and everything. And there were a couple seconds of footage that were clearly 4:3 footage, that was squashed or stretched to fill the wide screen, and it just looked wrong to me. It always looks wrong to me, and I'm just like, could you have found a shot that you didn't have to squash? Or could you not have squashed it? Or could you have done something? And a couple of the clips looked like they were really low end, I would say like real player footage, really low end web video YouTube footage that was pixelated and smeary. And that was blown up to the biggest screen in the theater that I went to. And it just looked horrible. I don't know why and how filmmakers think it's okay if they're just always looking at things on a little monitor. I don't think that's the case. But please, filmmakers, anybody, if you make documentaries, anything, 4:3 is okay. You don't have to squash it. It's more distracting to look at something that's squashed or to look at horrendous YouTube quality footage than it is otherwise. rant over. So this film, as I speak, is probably currently in theaters for a little bit longer. If it gets any awards push, it'll be in for even longer, but it will live its life streaming. It's a good film. It's a human drama, so seeing it on the big screen, everything's better on the big screen, but this is one, well, I'll say, where if you watch this ultimately at home down the line, it really won't lose much, other than how powerful those racing sequences are. Patrick Dempsey stars as an Italian racer, which was kind of interesting, but otherwise not a lot of familiar faces in the film, and that's okay. So, in theaters, probably streaming by the time you read this, is Michael Mann's Ferrari.